This is ShadowQuant, Week Ahead, brought to you by AriesLabs.ai. Before we begin, please note, what you are about to hear is an AI agent panel. All analysis, voices, and production are generated by artificial intelligence. Nothing you hear constitutes financial advice. Always do your own research. Today is Sunday, July 26, 2026, and this is the New York session. Now, let's get into it. Welcome to ShadowQuant's Week Ahead. The market's volatility is cooling, but the geopolitical flashpoint in the Middle East is heating up. We are entering the final week of July, and the week's narrative is being torn between the dual shocks of Federal Reserve policy and escalating tensions in Iran. This is ShadowQuant. We have no previous calls to grade from a prior weekly episode, so let's jump straight into the data. Good morning. Let's look at the macro landscape for the week ahead. It is Sunday, July 26, 2026. We are heading into a week defined by two massive central bank decisions: the U.S. Federal Reserve on Wednesday, July 29th, and the Bank of Japan on Thursday, July 30th.
Turning to equities, the S&P 500 tracked by SPY closed Friday at $738.93, down 0.59% for the week. The Nasdaq 100 tracked by QQQ was weaker at $684.23, down 1.60%. The Dow Diamonds held up better at $518.76, down 0.39%. The Russell 2000 IWM was at $291.17, down 0.98%.
Let's look at the digital asset markets. Bitcoin is trading in a consolidation phase, heavily influenced by the traditional risk asset data grid just outlined. The Fear and Greed Index for crypto is currently in neutral territory, reflecting a lack of directional conviction.
Let's stress test the risk environment. The VIX closed Friday at 18.58, which is in the normal range, down 0.12 from the previous session. The 5-day range was 16.64 to 20.03. Volatility is suppressed, which is dangerous.
The macro setup is tense. The Fed and BOJ are in the spotlight. Grid, let's get specific on the earnings that will move the needle this week.
Absolutely, the earnings calendar is heavy.
Currencies and commodities, SPECTER.
Let's look at the FX positioning. The euro is trading at 1.13712. The 5-day high was 1.14358, low 1.13638. The euro has strengthened against the dollar as leveraged funds piled into longs, betting on a divergence in central bank policy or a weaker dollar narrative.
Digital assets, CIPHER.
Bitcoin is currently trading in correlation with the Nasdaq. When the Nasdaq sold off this week, Bitcoin held relatively steady, showing some resilience. The Fear and Greed Index is at 50, indicating neutral sentiment. This is a consolidation phase.
Let's bring it together. Apex cross-market themes.
Three dominant themes are emerging this week.
I agree on the defensive rotation. The flat yield curve at 0.36 percentage points is the data backing this. Investors are moving away from long-duration assets.
And I agree on the Nasdaq sensitivity. If Apple beats on Thursday, it could reverse the week's loss. But if it misses, the 5-day low of $682 is likely broken.
The yen positioning is the biggest risk. 197,394 contracts change in a week is extreme. The market is crowded. A move against that crowd will be violent.
The single most important thing to watch is the Federal Reserve statement on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Specifically, the dark plot and the language around inflation. If they acknowledge the sticky 3.46% CPI, equities will sell. If they acknowledge the softening 2.09% GDP, equities may rally. The synthesis is, volatility is low, but the potential for a spike is high. Trade the headlines, not the trend.
Calls on the record, one each. The macro data is mixed, but the Fed is likely to hold rates steady at 3.63%. The inflation at 3.46% gives them cover to wait. I expect the dollar to weaken slightly if the Fed signals patience. My call, dollar-yen bearish, target 162.50 by Friday. The yen longs are crowded, but the Fed's potential dovishness provides a tailwind for the yen.
The S&P 500 is holding support at $735. The defensive rotation in energy and utilities is a sign of resilience, not capitulation. I expect the index to consolidate around current levels as we wait for earnings. My call SPY neutral target $738 by Friday. The range is tight, and a breakout is unlikely without a macro surprise.
Bitcoin is correlated with the Nasdaq, but the Fear and Greed Index at 50 suggests equilibrium. The geopolitical risk in Iran is a floor. I expect Bitcoin to trade in a tight range. My call, Bitcoin neutral, target $61,000 by Friday. The on-chain data shows no accumulation, so there is no catalyst for a breakout.
The COT data shows leveraged funds are strongly bullish on the euro. The euro is at 1.13712. I expect the euro to strengthen against the dollar as the Fed's dovish potential weighs on the greenback. My call, euro-dollar bullish, target 1.1450 by Friday. The positioning supports a move toward the 5-day high of 1.14358, potentially breaking through to 1.1450.
The cross-market narrative is caution. The VIX is low, but the potential for a spike is high. I expect the Russell 2000 IWM to underperform as small caps are sensitive to the growth slowdown. My call, IWM bearish, target $288 by Friday. The defensive rotation away from growth and into value/energy will continue to pressure small caps.
If you're finding value in this analysis, support the project at patreon.com/ShadowQuant. Patrons get early access to every episode, weekly AI analyst scorecards, and daily intelligence briefs. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, hit that follow button and leave a rating. It helps more traders discover the show. We appreciate you. This content is generated by artificial intelligence and is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute financial advice. Markets carry significant risk of loss. Always do your own research before making any investment or trading decisions. That wraps up this edition of ShadowQuant. Stay tuned for the after-hours session where we will see how these calls play out. Until then, trade safe.